Happy Tomlin and Victory Tuesday, Steelers Nation. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and you are watching Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. Today, we did get some updates from the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just got off the podium in Southside Pittsburgh. We got the latest Steelers injury updates from Mike Tomlin himself on guys like Isaac Seumalo, Derrick Harmon, and even Nick Herbig, who has a hamstring injury now. Then earlier today, the New York Jets released former Aaron Rodgers teammate here, Alan Lazard. Could the Pittsburgh Steelers consider bringing in Rodgers' former teammate here to finish the season? And then we'll talk to finish up today's show about how Aaron Rodgers is proving people wrong in a very surprising way here in 2025. Now, before we get into the content today, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already to help us celebrate Victory Tuesday, all right? You got to savor these victories when they come during the NFL season, and it helps out the channel. The more people that like the video, the more people are going to be able to watch this video because YouTube's going to recommend this show to Steelers fans across the globe, and the more people that watch, the more people that are going to click that thumbs up icon, and so on and so forth. So get the party started here. Click that thumbs up icon if you appreciate the free coverage we provide for you guys here on Steelers Talk. All right, so we'll dive right in here to the injury updates that Mike Tomlin provided earlier today. First one, Isaac Seumalo left the game yesterday with a triceps injury, and Tomlin says he is questionable to play this week. He will start the week limited in practice, but that indicates that this triceps injury that Seumalo suffered is potentially non-season ending. So that is really good news if you are a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Of course, Seumalo had an injury earlier in the year, missed a couple weeks, but he eventually came back. Had a really good stretch of games here over the last month or so, and now he's back on the injury report here. So it'll be interesting to see if he can come back this week. But the good news portion of this is that it doesn't seem like Seumalo is lost for the season. But then it looks like we have another edge rusher down here, unfortunately, here in Pittsburgh, as Nick Herbig suffered a hamstring injury last night, and he is also questionable heading into this week with that hamstring injury. It didn't sound like Mike Tomlin really got a ton of updates from the medical staff this morning in preparation for his press conference, but he said that Herbig and Seumalo will start the week on the injury report and limited in practice. But the fact that that's a questionable designation, puts a little bit, of a worry out there in terms of the edge rusher rotation for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because Tomlin also didn't have an update on T.J. Watt. Now, there is some optimism that the $41 million per season man here in Watt will be able to return to the lineup this week after suffering a partially collapsed lung in a dry needling session at the Steelers training facility last week. But man, like what I've heard about this injury and this procedure that he had to go under, like apparently it just absolutely wipes you out physically. So obviously TJ is in incredible shape. If anybody's going to be able to come back and play a week after a partially collapsed lung, it'd probably be him. But he is also questionable heading into this week, no doubt about that. So if TJ Watt is unable to go, and if Nick Herbig is unable to go, which seems like a legitimate possibility at this point heading into this week's game against the Detroit Lions, that means Jack Sawyer, the rookie out of Ohio State, would be making his first NFL start, and he'd be going up against a hell of a right tackle here in Penei Sewell, maybe the best right tackle in all of football in his first start for the black and gold. This is what the potential edge rusher rotation could look like this week if the Steelers don't bring in any outside linebacker in free agency this week, and if Nick Herbig and TJ Watt are out of the lineup. Alex Highsmith would assume the role as the number one edge rusher for this team. Then Jack Sawyer would get the start on the other side. My guess is Alex Highsmith in this particular scenario would see a lot of double teams. I'm guessing they probably trust Penei Sewell to guard Jack Sawyer one-on-one for this entire game if this is the way that things have to go. And then DeMarvin Leal would probably be elevated here into a rotational third edge rusher role. And then Peyton Wilson, who played some edge at NC State, would probably be your emergency option at edge rusher if one of these three guys in the top of the rotation would go down with an injury. Some other questionables that Mike Tomlin noted heading into the week here: Andrus Peat, who's still dealing with that concussion, and then James Pierre, who's dealing with a calf injury that he had to sit out yesterday's game for. So keep your eye on those two throughout the week as well. But the best part of the injury update today from Tomlin is that he confirmed that defensive tackle Derrick Harmon, the first-round rookie out of Oregon, will be returning to the lineup this week versus the Detroit Lions. He's missed the last 3 games with a knee injury. He's missed 5 total games in his rookie rookie season to this point, and now you're getting one of your most impactful run defenders back into the lineup with just 3 games left to go with a game advantage in the division. And really, Harmon could not be coming back at a better time here, guys. He gets to ramp up a little bit before hopefully a home playoff game on Wild Card weekend and a division championship here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But also, you're going up against one of the better, if not the best, running back tandem in the National Football League this week on the road in Sonic and Knuckles here with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So this couldn't have come at a better time. The Steelers' run defense definitely played a lot better yesterday against the Dolphins than they had the 2 previous weeks without Harmon, but Harmon has been one of the more impactful Steelers run defenders all season long, so it's great to get him back, particularly for this game. Another thing at the Tomlin press conference that really stood out to me today, guys, was that Mike Tomlin was asked about the statuses of left tackle, about the cornerback position, some of these position battles that are now up in the air here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Tomlin would not commit to anybody at this point in the week. Dylan Cook really had a good game at left tackle. He was asked if Cook's going to get the start at left tackle over Andrews Pete, even if Pete clears concussion protocol this week. He would not confirm that. And then in terms of Asante Samuel Jr., who got his first interception as a Steeler in his first Steelers start last night versus the Dolphins, he was asked if James Pierre will retain his starting position at corner if he gets healthy enough to play, and Tomlin would not give a clear answer to that either. So those are definitely 2 positions that we're going to be keeping our eye on here throughout the week. Once we get official word as to what the plan is at these positions this week against Detroit, we'll let you guys know the latest right here on Steelers Talk. But in terms of that cornerback position, who should be CB2 this week? Assuming James Pierre is healthy, who should get the start? Type JP for James Pierre or ASJ for Asante Samuel Jr. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at GLD. And while I tell you about today's sponsor, let me know who you think should be the number 2 starting outside corner for the Steelers this week. Now let's have a word from our sponsor here at GLD. And let's be real, guys. Buying men's jewelry nowadays is a complete nightmare. Most of the time, it's low-quality junk that snaps off after a week or was insanely overpriced with ridiculous markups. That's why I rock with GLD. Use code CHAT right now to get 50% off at GLD.com. GLD has completely changed the game in men's jewelry because you're getting quality pieces that are built to last without breaking the bank. And unlike a lot of other companies, GLD only uses real gold. None of that cheap stuff. Every single stone is meticulously hand set, plus their proprietary production process makes sure you're getting the highest quality jewelry possible. You can literally see and feel the difference, and I'm actually wearing my GLD pendant here that they were very gracious enough to send my way here, guys. I absolutely love it. I wear it pretty much every single Steelers game day with our live watch parties, and they've got a bunch of other stuff Steelers related on their website right now for you guys to choose from. So if a pendant isn't really your style, they got a bunch of other stuff for you guys to choose from that is Steelers related. But it's all for different types of teams as well. If you just want a chain and it doesn't have to do anything with the Steelers, you can get something like that as well. But they got a bunch of really high quality pieces for you to choose from. And you guys know that feeling when you get to put on a new chain. It just hits different and it elevates your whole fit. The confidence, the compliments, the way you carry yourself, all changes instantly. And GLD has everything from chains, pendants, rings, earrings, even fully iced out watches if that's your style and your Shadur Sanders. Whatever your style is, they've got you covered. And listen, don't just take my word for it. Over 2 million customers and 50,000 5-star reviews back it up. Not to mention, it's worn by some of the biggest names out there like Justin Bieber, Micah Parsons, Tyreek Hill, Malik Neighbors, A$AP Rocky, and a ton more. And the best part is, every single piece from GLD is guaranteed for life. It's literally built to last the rest of your life, just like your love for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Work hard and change the game. Right now, GLD is making holiday shopping easy for you. Right now, for a limited time only, new customers can get an insane deal. Use code CHAT to get 50% off at GLD.com. That's 50% off their entire website with code CHAT at GLD.com. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. And a big thank you to GLD for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So today, the New York Jets agreed to release wide receiver Allen Lazard, and they have officially waived him. Lazard was not being used very much in the New York Jets offense, and according to Jordan Schultz, Allen Lazard is seeking an opportunity to play for a contender here down the stretch. This was the report earlier this morning from Schultz saying that Lazard requested to be released, and the Jets have obliged that request. And then he followed that up right afterwards, saying Allen Lazard is a highly respected veteran wide receiver with 28 career touchdowns and ample postseason experience. That's definitely a message from Lazard's agent. And he says he will look to sign with a playoff team should he clear waivers. All right, so we'll see if he gets picked up from somebody on waivers. And I'm guessing he would love to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And a lot of people are connecting Lazard to Pittsburgh because Lazard's played his best football in his career. And really the only time he's looked like even a serviceable starting receiver in his career has been with Aaron Rodgers, both with the Green Bay Packers to start his career and then with the New York Jets last season in 2024. So you guys can take a look at Lazard's profile here. And of course, Rodgers loves his guys, and he loves Lazard, he loves MVS. So there's a lot of people connecting the 30-year-old wide receiver here to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he has played with Rodgers in 6 of his 8 NFL campaigns. He hasn't played with him this year and hasn't played with him in 2023, or he technically did in 2023, but it was just for a couple plays. But apparently Lazard is looking for a playoff competitor here to go sign with. And honestly, outside of like the Bills and Steelers, I don't know if there's really any playoff teams really looking for wide receiver help right now, and I'm not even sure if Lazard really ups the ante in Buffalo. So yeah, I'm guessing he was probably going to really want to come to Pittsburgh here. And you guys can take a look at what Lazard was able to do with Aaron Rodgers last year in New York. He had over 500 yards receiving. He averaged over 14 yards per catch and 6 touchdowns in just 12 games with Rodgers throwing him the football. So obviously these guys still have a little bit of a connection, and you guys can see over the last 4 seasons, Lazard has just not been a good player away from Aaron Rodgers, right? In 2022, his final season in Green Bay with Rodgers, he had over 780 yards and 6 touchdowns and had a really good average as well. But then with Zach Wilson in 2023, and then this year with the various quarterbacks in New York, he just hasn't been a good player. And, compare that with that 2024 season sandwiched in between those 2 non-Rodgers seasons, and he's clearly the better player when Aaron Rodgers is throwing him the football. They certainly have a certain level of chemistry that maybe Lazard could bring to the table. And listen, man, if Lazard's okay being a wide receiver 5 here in Pittsburgh, I mean, why not? He can't expect to come in here and be like a bona fide starter right away, because I think, the current configuration of the Steelers wide receiver room is looking pretty good right now. DK Metcalf has had 2 really good games in a row. Adam Thielen is running some good routes. Marquez Valdes-Scantling got a touchdown last night. And of course, that rotation is working out well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You still got Calvin Austin III in the rotation. So if Allen Lazard's going to be brought in here, he's got to be okay not getting a very heavy workload, and maybe even having to sign on to the practice squad here, and maybe getting a couple of weeks work on the practice squad, and then maybe making the playoff roster is maybe his best bet here in Pittsburgh. And I wouldn't be too upset if the Steelers parted ways with Scotty Miller. I know that he's getting a helmet over a guy like Roman Wilson, for example, because he can be a backup punt returner. And maybe, that's why he's on the team right now and all that different stuff. And I think that's probably the reason why I don't necessarily see Pittsburgh bringing in Lazard right now. I mean, maybe they do. Like I said, maybe Lazard is okay being a wide receiver 5, but he kind of had that same role in New York, and he wanted to be released. So I kind of feel like he might want a chance to actually play down the stretch. But the problem for him is that I don't know if there's a playoff team that has an opening for a starting position at wide receiver right now, maybe besides Buffalo. But even Buffalo, I don't even think you could start for them. I don't think he's that good of a player, especially when he's away from Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see what happens here. Maybe they sign him to the practice squad, and maybe he makes the roster by the playoffs if he can get up to speed in time. But, I actually think probably what's more likely is Lazard. I could certainly see him signing with the Steelers next year, like as a rotational backup type of guy with experience with Aaron Rodgers. If Rodgers continues to play as well as he's playing right now for the rest of the way, I would say the chances of Rodgers returning to Pittsburgh are actually pretty decent. I know he said that he might retire at the end of this year, but he's also been laying it on pretty thick that he might return in 2026 because he really likes the Steelers organization. He loves playing for Mike Tomlin. He loves the guys in this locker room. And with Cam Hayward getting ready for just one more season in 2026 before he retires, I could certainly see Rodgers coming back for one more year. And if that's the case, could certainly see the Steelers bring in Allen Lazard on like the vet minimum, for example, along with maybe MVS to be rotational pieces for this offense moving forward. But speaking of Rodgers here, he spoke after the win last night, and something that really caught my eye about his comments was that he talked about the quote-unquote castoffs that are on this Pittsburgh Steelers roster right now, guys that have been forsaken by other teams, and how those players are what makes this team special here in Pittsburgh. This is what Rodgers had to say about these guys. He says, there are some castoffs, if you look at our roster, which makes this team really special. Kenny Gainwell signed a next-to-nothing contract. Connor Hayward, an afterthought, had a touchdown run. Marquez Valdes-Scantling has been on a couple teams. Adam Thielen got cut. Asante Samuel Jr. was on the street for a long time. It says a lot about the character of the guys we brought into this team. And, Rodgers is kind of right, man. There's a lot of players on this roster that, teams have forsaken. Kenny Gainwell, not a lot of people believed in him. He signed for next to nothing. Aaron Rodgers, a lot of people, what did they say all offseason? He's too old. He's going to suck this year. The Steelers going to have their first losing season this year because Rodgers stinks. He was casted away by the New York Jets. And then you get Kyle Duggar, who was, being shipped off by the Patriots for nothing. All right, he's been great here in Pittsburgh. Adam Thielen, he asked for his release, but he was cut by the Minnesota Vikings, and he was traded away by Carolina. Marquez Valdes-Scantling has been on a bunch of different teams. A lot of people, forsaked him. He had a touchdown last night. James Pierre, he wasn't even considered like a starting level player heading into the year. He's the second highest graded corner in football this year. Ben Skoranek was released by the Rams. He's been terrific as a special teamer here in Pittsburgh since he's gotten here. Dylan Cook, somebody that was more of a practice squad guy, played great. Maybe he had the best tackle or best performance from a left tackle from any Steelers player this year. And then Ezesi Otomiwu has been really good in a rotational role at defensive tackle, and Jabril Peppers has been a stud at special teams in rotational role at safety. So I really like a lot of these players, and really this is why this year's Steelers team has been able to stay afloat. These guys that nobody else believed in, and Mike Tomlin, give him and the coaching staff a lot of credit here because they've brought these guys in and they have gotten success out of these players when previously they weren't getting much success elsewhere. And I think something that people really got wrong when it came to Aaron Rodgers, because when I was saying and I was advocating for the Steelers to bring in Rodgers this offseason, all I heard was he's not a Steeler quarterback. He's so selfish. He's a bad teammate, all this different stuff. And he's going to, he's a whore for attention and he likes to go on McAfee, and he's always taking every interview that he can get. Well, guess what, man? He's not going on McAfee this year. He's politely declining to take interviews from Scott Van Pelt and NFL Network and all these different places, and he has really bought in to the quote-unquote Steeler way here under head coach Mike Tomlin. And by all accounts, he's been a terrific teammate, and he's actively avoiding media attention this year. So listen, man, if A-Rod can keep playing the way that he's playing, I would absolutely be okay bringing him back for another season. These last 2 weeks, he's been super efficient, super accurate down the field. And if that continues for the rest of the regular season and into the postseason this year, I'm absolutely open and willing to bring back Aaron Rodgers, especially because if Rodgers comes back, you're getting him at a discount. So that's going to give you an opportunity to maybe even draft a quarterback, another one here to develop behind him. And then you've got two potential long-term options with Will Howard and another quarterback sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for another year here. And I think that might be the best setup for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2026. Again, if Rodgers can continue this hot streak towards the end of this season. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Would you bring back Aaron Rodgers for another season if the season ended today? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. For me, I would be on the yes category right there. All right, man. Well, that's going to be it for today's program. Later today, I'm going to be putting out another video here on Steelers Talk with my Week 15 film takeaways versus the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football. Sorry for the typo there with Week 16 is Week 15 film takeaways from yesterday's win against the Dolphins. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already to never miss any of our free videos here on Steelers Talk. We're going to be having our Lions game preview coming out tomorrow. We'll have film takeaways later today, injury updates throughout the week. If they sign Alan Lazard, we'll do a breaking news video for that. Got a bunch of great content coming your way this week here as we prepare for the Detroit Lions. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys. Here we go, Steelers.